could have been different if Catalan had bothered to turn up for the first 40, and I still thought we looked stilted in the attacking portion of the field, but you can't complain too much when you're sitting top of the league. Fair point indeed.
No, yeah.
Joe. Absolutely. So what happened in the predictions then this week, Mark, and Dream Team?
Well, it's close run thing in the predictions went down. You just edged it this week. There were 7 out of 8 to my 3 out of 8.
We don't often have a big margin of victory like this between ourselves, do we?
No, I went off the rails a bit last week, didn't I?
You went windmilling last week, mate. Absolutely. But there you go. So in the actual competition, then what does that mean?
Subaru Dargana stays top, so matching his wire side there at the top of the table. They've caught up with him, I suppose, because he's been top for a good month or so now. Paul O'Brien wears the yellow cap this week, though, so
congratulations,
well
Paul.
done to him.
Yep.
Maybe back in his own team might have helped him there, I guess.
Yeah.
Alan Bagley stays top of this Dream Team and gets back to form, stretching his lead, but he falls just short of Stephen Bowie on the best round of the week. Stephen got 7.33 to Alan's 7.30.
That is quite a big score. Right, let's take a look now then at some results from elsewhere in the world of Rugby League. Right, so other results then. Let's take a look at the Super 8's round 4 of that competition. It was Huddersfield 40, London 4, Mark, in a game you had the Broncos pegged to win.
They were winning at one point.
They were winning at one point, that is all true, but the final score was 40 points to 4. Do we have any stats on this one?
No one from London really stood out enough to get in the roundup, but Cudjoe 2 tries, 146 metres, 2 clean breaks. Danny Brough a try, 3 try assists, so very involved for him there. And McGilvery a try, 188 metres, 5 successful offloads.
No, very
so
impressive.
Jerry was back in position.
Very
impressive. I'm guessing smart people like Alan Bagley spotted that he was going to be back in and got him in his Dream Team before the cut-off, whereas slow to move people like me didn't spot the squads because I was, busy working this week.
There you go. We got some feedback on this one though, didn't we? Do you want to take care of that since I'm running through the results?
If you want. Dr. Hideous, who also we know as Dave Cantrell, also we know as can't take a photograph. In the first half, the Broncos' only opportunities came from the Giants being stupid, and otherwise the Broncos could barely have got out of their own half. But the Giants didn't take their chances. 2 almost tries were held up, and at half-time it was just 10-4. The second half was much better, as good defence often kept the Broncos pinned in their own 20-metre line before they kicked away. And in attack, we did a lot better, going over at pace in clear spaces. Wilco 2205 or Mark alternatively, he said shaky start, but whatever Stone said to them at half-time worked. We need to play like that for 80, as the next 3 games will be a lot tougher, but 2 points at Lee will put us in a good place. Would like to see Brearley back though.
There you go. It was Leeds Rhinos 30, Salford Devils 8 down at Headingley.
Another one I tipped the other way.
Yeah, you plucked Salford out of the air for this one, but we did get some stats on this one, didn't we?
Yeah, Cuthbertson.
Look at that. Decided to turn up.
Yeah, 1 try, 131 metres. Garbutt, who's been turning up all year, 173 metres, and Seguiaro, the man of the middle eights, I suppose, in many ways, with a try and 2 try assists, blew the game open, sort of back end of the first half, and that was kind of it for Salford.
That was that.
Really, unfortunately for them. But some good performance nonetheless. Flanagan, 42 tackles, worked hard. Vito back in the side. Can you smell what Vidot's cooking? He cooked up 129 metres. And Josh Griffin, 127 metres.
Fantastic. Carl Renner got in touch. He said probably just a coincidence, but Leeds stepped up a gear in the second half when Stevie Ward made his return after having been out for 11 months. Yes, congratulations on being back to that young man. Great to see him come back. Hopefully he can get back to the form he showed in 2015.
Yeah, I'm sure there's an element of it coincidence, but an element of it not, because I'm guessing the crowd will have properly lifted, and it was the biggest attended match across all of the competitions in this weekend with like 13,000
there you go.
For a game that obviously meant a lot to both sides, but was in the middle eight.
Exactly, there you go. Another middle eight game then. Hull KR defeated at home 18 points to 25 by the Leeds Centurions, Mark.
How did this happen? Because
Well,
in the first 20 minutes,
you just figured that Lee were going to end up with about 8 men left on the field, didn't you?
In the first 20 minutes, it should have been out of sight. There should have been 4 scores for
that was it.
with the amount of ball and possession and penalties and stuff that Lee were giving him, penalties and knock-ons and stuff. Terrible conditions.
Execution in terrible conditions was the issue early doors for Hull KR, and they paid the price for that in the second half once Lee had got in and got themselves organised and probably had not talking to, but probably got, it reaffirmed to them that they were going to win this game by keeping 13 men on the pitch and just to play their game rather than get involved in, too much. They'd done the unsettling at that point.
How did they keep 13 men on the pitch? Because they were on a team warning twice in the first 20 minutes of the game.
Well, they were on a team warning, and then apparently enough time had passed for them to have then been put onto another team warning.
I think he bottled it the second time because the penalty wasn't really a penalty, was it? It was the strip that wasn't a 2-man in the tackle strip.
Yeah.
And so I think he got a word that it might not have been 2 men from the touch judge or whoever and didn't throw the guy in the sin bin because it would have highlighted the error even greater.
Yeah, true.
Which I don't think is strong refereeing, personally.
I do think you need, that's the thing. I think you always need a strong referee where you're concerned to, keep them playing the game. But
who was the referee? Was it Jack Smith? No, he didn't.
No, he did
Warrington game.
The Warrington game. No, it was what's he called? Blonde-haired chap.
Hicks.
Yes,
Robert Hicks, wasn't it?
Yeah, and sometimes I like the way Hicks goes about it. He seems to talk to the players a lot, and
until he got injured.
Going.
Was it in Magic he got injured? Until then, he was the best referee this year.
He was doing well, wasn't he? But Lee came out in the second half and mustered a fight back, and Hull KR didn't have an answer for them once they were on the back foot. Once they were rocked back on their ankles a little bit, it didn't seem like there was a plan B for Hull.
Who'd have known Ken Seo going off? Now he's been great this year, and he'd be one of those players from outside the top 8 that would be in contention for a dream team spot if. I think they should be in it, which I don't think they should. But he would be one of them.
Yeah.
But he's a winger, so you don't think he's going to make that much of a difference. But it did feel like when he went off was when Hull KR all of a sudden lost any sort of shape in attack and started to panic quite a bit, and you saw a lot of mistakes from panicky play.
Well, they're very capable on the wings, aren't they, Hull KR, with Seo and then Mantellato on the opposite side of things. And I think in that environment, losing someone who's got the level of experience that Ken Seo has probably does have a psychological impact on the team. I know you'll say that they would have targeted him defensively, but I do think they would have maybe made a better fist of it if Albert Kelly had been in the squad, and that's another factor that contributed to Hull KR's defeat. But
Lee's Big Dad's Army pack would have been able to run over him.
That's what I'm saying. I know, but I still think he's got it in him to produce something off the cuff that might have broken that in the second half when Hull KR were lacking in ideas.
Yeah, I suppose young Marsh, who I think's had a really strong year behind probably the poorest Super League pack, and inconsistent performers, and he's played in a couple of different positions because he played a few games at fullback as well, didn't he? But I think he's shown a lot as a young player. He's only 18, 19 years old.
Yeah, very young.
A lot of promise there. I hope they don't move away too far from him. I hope he's still like the next man in when the first 2 get injured. I assume they'll be signing a new halfback because I'm assuming they won't be keeping Kelly now for next year.
Think so, wouldn't you?
And Blair has just shown that he's not a halfback anymore. He doesn't have any creativity. It feels like his kick-ins are erratic. Sometimes he'll do some really good kicks.
Yeah, you've got to take your hat off to Mo Blair though, because he did lose his brother in the week leading up to the game, and he put his hand up to turn out and play for them. So, where his head was in terms of all that stuff as well. You've got to give the guy a lot of credit.
Emotionally, props for that. Yeah, but I'm not just talking about this game for his kicking and creativity. I'm talking about the season as a whole. I'm not basing it on one performance in a.
Okay.
In the situation, obviously there's sad circumstances and stuff, and our regards to the family and condolences, of course. But
no, he's not a halfback anymore, and Hull KR have made him into a second rower because, they had him and Kelly lined up to be their halves combination, and Campese became available. And I think what's happened at Hull KR is they said, right, we've now got Campo, and we're going to try and keep him fit. You're a second rower kid, bulk up. And I think that's had an effect on him. I think sometimes too much muscle and too much size it impairs manoeuvrability and their ability to move around on the field. And that has had an impact. But no, I agree with you.
Whereas Lee have made sure they've filled the side full of creative players to work behind that big pack that they put together. Now they have some meat Eddie kind of blokes. So, some of the people that aren't that like that though, I thought Hansen was inspirational when he came on to the pitch. To be honest, it was like Harrison Hansen when he played. Probably it was him playing with heart again, him playing with desire again, and I've not seen that for a while. Certainly in his latter end of his spell at Salford, I've not seen enough of him in a Lee shirt to see if that's been there or not.
There's bags of experience there, isn't there?
Oh yeah.
So we've got some stats on this one then. Who stood out for us?
Well, Patterson with 2 try assists, 42 tackles, 129 metres. Hansen had 148 metres. Tickle had 46 tackles. So, some blokes who've been around the block a bit there. But Patterson showed a bit against his old team. Got put through some nice holes, didn't he? Good into playing the forwards there. Mantellato with a try and 103 metres. Walker with 132 metres, and Allgood 130 metres. So, there was some solid pack efforts from Hull KR, but it doesn't feel like they build a platform.
Yeah.
And Dane Till's near the end, bless him.
He nearly contributed, didn't he?
Well, it made a big difference to the season. He set them up in position to score the field goal that ultimately gives Lee 4 in a row and means that they're 1 point away from promotion, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is a phenomenal achievement. Just Davies 90 got in touch. I think I have found a soft spot / start barracking for Lee. Been watching their charge through the middle eights and been
don't know enough about
fist pumping in their victories. No, clearly not. Everything went wrong for them in the first half, but showed their class in the second and put themselves almost in Super League. Look, they're a rogues gallery, aren't they, at best, Lee? But they do know how to play rugby league. You've got to give them that. When they turn it on, they can play and they can be competitive.
I think in Super League they probably will need.
Well, they'll need some youth in the pack.
They'll need a winger. And if they got long-term ambitions, they need a bit more youth in the pack. Yes, long-term ambitions, but for next year, I think they can go again with these boys with the desire that some of them have. What they do have is a lot of attitude. Some of these older guys, and some of them have chips on the shoulder, and that's not necessarily a bad motivating factor for some of the lads. People like Tickle and Hock and
Well, there's a lot of guys. Yeah. Even Heim coming back in the Super League. Yeah. If he's in for 2017. Paul, I'm assuming Campbell, got in touch. It's got to be Paul Campbell. It's like a Brazilian footballer. He is just from the one name, don't you? Well played, Lee. Super League next season. About time you gave the rest a chance. Tyler Casvan said a game more important for Hull KR to win than Lee, but the Championship side had more speed and energy, and KR committed too many errors. Maybe they should have delayed Kelly's disciplinary until after the game. Who Are Warriors got in touch, said shambles of a game, shambles of a season, can't say any more.
Is that Dave Sharp, is it?
I'm not totally sure.
He's a Hull KR fan anyway.
Yeah. I was going to say it'd be a fairly harsh indictment of your season if it was a Lee fan saying that it had been a shambles. Paul O'Brien said it was a great game, hard in poor conditions. Lee were the better team once they got their poor discipline under control. And Paul Luder-Lewis said, what a brilliant game. We now have a catch-22 where everybody wanted the team promoted for the good of the former, but on the downside it's Lee. The £1 million game could well be the game of the season now. I don't think it's necessarily a downside that Lee are the ones that go up, but they do. You've got to work hard to like them. That's the thing.
Yeah, but they are resourced the best to compete if with Beaumont's backing.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, final game of this part of the comp saw Batley taking on Featherstone, and it was a dramatic one. 11 points to 10 down at the Foxes Biscuit Stadium. I can't say any more other than knowing the scoreline.
I don't know anything about it, other than Fev gave up a few. I think Fev Wiganed it away in terms of had a few kickable penalties.
Wiganed it away. Don't you coin that, because that'll get used.
I had a few kickable penalties and didn't go for any of them.
So what does that do to the league standings then, Mark?
Leeds and Lee stay top with 4 from 4. Realistically, they each only need a point to secure Super League in 2016. Salford and London are joined on 2 points by Batley. Feather probably done now, but any of the rest could be in the £1 million game. Now, throwing it forward, there's 3 rounds left. Huddersfield have to play Lee at Lee.
Yeah.
Leeds.
Yeah.
And Hull KR.
Yeah.
Okay, so they've got 3 tough
Yes, they
games.
have. Yes.
Salford have to play Featherstone, London, and Batley.
Yeah.
So they've got 3, you would say, on paper, winnable games.
Yes.
You could end up in a scenario where Huddersfield on 6 points and Salford on 8 points, and Huddersfield will be in the £1 million game in that scenario.
Yep.
Now, Hull KR have Huddersfield, Featherstone, I think.
Yeah. No, they've not played Fev.
They've got London next. Mm-hmm. Then they've got Fev, and then they've got Huddersfield, I think, last game, I think.
Yeah.
So they've got a tough